What's up everybody, it's KB the Dragon, and today I'm going to show you a PvP build that truly embodies the support playstyle. It allows you to buff and heal your team for both defensive and offensive purposes, making you the perfect anchor for your team. It's an insanely fun build, so let's dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. First, let's start with the exotic hand cannon, Lumina. This gun comes with the perks of Blessing of the Sky and Noble Rounds. Noble Rounds allows Lumina to leave remnants on kills that turn your next hipfire shot into an ally seeking round that also partially refills your magazine. This works with the perk Blessing of the Sky. Blessing of the Sky allows those Noble Rounds to heal your teammates. And on top of that, you and the target ally get a damage buff for 10 seconds. This buff is 20%, which is basically Rampage times 2. This allows for adaptive hand cannons like Palindrome and Fatebringer to 2-crit 1 body guardians instead of just needing 3 crits. Even 120 hand cannons can 2-tap from 5 resilience and less. This buff essentially keeps your team alive and makes their weapons have more forgiveness overall, which means we need to be able to provide this buff as much as possible. Which leads us into our exotic armor for the build, Boots of the Assembler. Boots of the Assembler come with the perk Blessing of the Order. Standing in a healing or empowering rift creates noble seekers that track your team and give them the corresponding buff. The buff that we're more interested in is the empowering buff, which gives them 20% for 5 seconds. So basically all the damage buff from Lumina, all for the price of standing in your rift. And the boots takes the buff to them. To make the deal even better, when you buff them, it extends your rift time by 5 seconds. And each buff teammate loads a Noble Round for free into Lumina. So even when the rift is gone, you can continue to heal and buff your team. These two exotics combined make for an amazing synergy and the ultimate support. So let's take it a step further and go over the stats, mods, and the rest of the loadout. For the subclass, we're going to go with Middle Tree Dawnblade, aka Whale, which fits perfectly with Lumina and the boots. Primarily, it makes your ability uptime crazy with the perk Benevolent Dawn, which regenerates all your ability energy each time you heal or empower your team. This perk is activated every time you use Lumina and the boots to empower and heal your team, which will start charging your other abilities. This makes Divine Protection, which turns your grenade into a healing grenade, and Guiding Flame, which makes your melee burn enemies and give you and close allies a damage buff active almost all the time. The Guiding Flame damage buff is 25% now and will last 10 seconds, and the Super Radiance Well is going to give you and your team a 40% damage resistance, as well as immunity from stasis freeze and slow. The last thing you need to equip is the Empowering Rift. Constantly giving your team a 20% buff is a lot more beneficial than health, especially considering you have Lumina and your nades to do the job and pick up the slack. As for the stats, you want to go for at least 40 mobility, 50 resilience, 80 recovery, 60 discipline, 40 intellect, and at least 60 strength. Now, let's take a look at the mods. Most of your mods are used to keep your abilities up as much as possible. You want to use the new Stasis class item mod, Utility Kickstart. If you use 2 of them together, it will give you about 20% of your rift energy back when you drop the rift. This mod also gives you a little flexibility with how much recovery you need on the armor since it reduces your overall cooldown. Next up, you have Hands On, which gives you super energy on melee kills. So at its best, you get a kill with your melee that empowers you and your team, as well as reducing the cooldown of your super when you secure the kill. And on top of all that, Benevolent Dawn kicks in, charging your other abilities. Impact Induction is also a great choice since it reduces the cooldown of your grenade by dealing damage with your melee, giving you access to the healing grenade as often as possible. The last selection of mods, which I highly recommend, is Charge with Light Engine that uses the mods Taking Charge, High Energy Fire, and Stacks on Stacks. I'll go into more detail about why this is important when I go over what weapons best pair with this build. The rest of your mod selection is entirely up to you and what your weapon choices are. But for now, let's go over what I believe goes best with the build. For your secondary and heavy weapon selection, we're going to go with a high impact sniper rifle like Frozen Orbit and the Long Walk, as well as linear fusion rifles like the Threaded Needle and the Tarantula. These weapons pair well with all the buffs that we have. High impact snipers can 1-tap guardians 3 resilience or less, and linear fusion rifles can 1-tap any guardian 9 resilience or less. Now, let's make the 1-taps more consistent using high energy fire, allowing you to 1-hit body anybody with the above weapon types. But you can take it another step further if you use a Frozen Orbit with high impact reserves. This role allows you to 1-tap guardians not in their supers when you combine high impact reserves with Blessing of the Sky from Lumina, which is 10 seconds. Even your Empowering Rift is another way to 1-tap. But if you can squeeze in high energy fire, Taking Charge, and Stacks on Stacks, every time you become charged with light, you have the ability to 1-tap any guardian even without high impact reserves. And all of these benefits work with your linear fusion rifle as well, so the one taps never stop. The icing on top is that guiding flames going from 20 to 25% in the last patch makes your high impact reserve snipers and linear fusers one tap from any resilience, and you get this buff for 10 seconds as well. And that's the build Noble Assembler, a build centered around buffing your allies, making each fight they enter as easy as possible. Rift placement is key when learning this build. Always look for the best areas to get the most cover and the most angles. Have fun with the build and give it time for you to learn it. It gets even better when you have a team to coordinate with. Using the right weapons like aggressive hand cannons and even snipers, your team will also be able to get some cheesy 2 taps with the hand cannons and 1 taps with their snipers, as long as they're being buffed by guiding flame. Even if they don't use aggressive weapons, your damage buff makes their fusion rifles and shotguns more consistent at further distances, only making your team more efficient. So tell me in the comments below if you enjoy this build, and if you see any way to make it more consistent, just let us know in the comments below. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.